Welcome everyone to your video about triangles and angles. So we're going to start with triangles. Now we haven't talked about the different types of triangles in class, which is why I want to particularly focus on it here, because you have some questions in your book about it. Now, there are different names for triangles, and some of the names are quite tricky. And unfortunately, they're the kind of things that you just have to learn and find funny ways to learn the funny names. But some of the names are quite cool. So it's going to be quite exciting to learn some posh new maths words. Okay, so let's see how we get on today. So we've got 4 different triangles here, and you probably didn't even think that there could be so many different triangles with so many different names. But here we go. We're going to start by having a look at the equilateral triangle. And the equilateral triangle has got a name which actually does help us to remember what it's about. So let's have a look at that one. So the equilateral triangle has 3 equal sides and 3 equal angles. Now we're going to be doing more about angles soon, but you can see that inside that triangle, between where the 2 lines meet and the amount of distance they've opened up, we've got 60 degrees in each corner. Okay, we know about 90 degrees being a right angle, but these are 60 degrees. So they're all 60, they're all the same. And all the sides are equal as well, and that means they're all the same length. Okay, not that they're the same colour, but they're the same length. And these double lines that you can see on here just show you that they are the same. Okay, it's just a way of showing you that the sides are the same. Now, because it's the same, that means that it can be rotated around and it will look the same each time it's rotated, because it's the same everywhere. It also means that there are 3 lines of symmetry. And so if we had a mirror, we could put a mirror down all of those lines and it would look the same either side. So 3 lines of symmetry, 3 equal sides, 3 equal angles. And the name equilateral has got at the beginning equal. So that's a way to remember it. That's the most important way to remember it. Equilateral, okay? Equal, everything is equal. That's the way to remember it, okay? Equilateral, everything is equal. Now let's have a little look at one of the other triangles. Okay, we're going to go on to isosceles next. Isosceles, that's a very funny name. So we've done equilateral, where everything is equal, and now we're going to do isosceles. So an isosceles triangle has 2 equal sides and 2 equal angles. So remember, an equilateral triangle has 3 equal sides and 3 equal angles, but this has 2. So that could be 2 long sides and a shorter one, or it could be 1 longer side and 2 shorter ones, as long as you've got 2 of the sides which measure the same length. Now, to me, it reminds me of a mountain, and it could be a tall, pointy mountain, or a mountain that looks a little bit like perhaps a volcano as well, that is stretched out a little bit more. But that's what I think of, an isosceles mountain. Now, the word isosceles has got 2 S's in it, isosceles, and we need to remember that in an isosceles triangle, 2 sides are the same. Isosceles, 2 sides the same. Okay, that's one way to try and help you remember. And we can also think of an icy isosceles mountain. An icy isosceles mountain. Now, there's just 1 line of symmetry in an isosceles triangle. You couldn't put a line of symmetry anywhere else to make it equal either side and a mirror image, so it just goes from top to bottom there. Isosceles, so it could be tall and thin, It could be wider, as long as we've got two equal sides, which will give us two equal angles. We need to remember that two sides are the same in our isosceles, which is like an icy isosceles mountain. Right, let's have a look back at the other triangles. So we've done equilateral, everything is equal. We've done isosceles, an icy mountain, two sides the same. Now we're going to have a look at scalene. Funny name, this one, scalene. It's not scaly, but we will find out a little bit more about it. Right, so here we get a scalene triangle. Now, in a scalene triangle, all sides are different. They're all different lengths, and all the angles are also different sizes. So all the sides are different lengths, all the angles are different. And they might look, because everything is different, they could look very different. And so you're looking for, if you're trying to find a scalene triangle, you're looking for a triangle which doesn't look like any of the sides could be equal. And because none of the all the sides are different, it means that the triangle can look a little bit skew with, which means kind of a little bit wonky. And so that's why I remember it as a skew with scalene, because there's no right angle, there's no two sides that are the same, and so it looks a little bit skew with, whichever way round it is. And there's the green and a blue and an orange one here, it's a little bit skew with. So a skew with scalene. Now, because it's skew with, because all the sides are different and all the angles are different, it means there are no lines of symmetry in a scalene triangle. You couldn't put a mirror line anywhere on a scalene and create an equal image on either side. No lines of symmetry, because they are skew with. Skew with scalene. All the sides and angles are different. Now, let's have a look back at the other triangles. We've got one more to look at. Just remember, skew with scalene. Okay, it's skew with because everything is different. Right, so we have learnt equilateral, all the sides are equal. Isosceles, the icy mountain with two sides the same. And scalene, the skew with scalene, all the sides and angles are different. So we are left with a right-angled triangle, and you'll be happy to know the name is quite self-explanatory, and it's probably the easiest name to learn. So a right-angled triangle has a right angle. Now remember, a right angle is 90 degrees. It's basically a perfect corner. You can see it down at the bottom left here of this triangle. And we always show a right angle with a square box rather than a curved angle box, just to show that it is a right angle. Now, a right angle, you can look for a right angle wherever it is, because it might not be in the bottom left corner, because sometimes triangles have been rotated and they've been turned around. So you just need to look for a corner that is like the edge of a piece of paper or the edge of a book, or a very perfect corner. You have to be careful because sometimes it's almost a right angle but not quite. But that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for a right angle triangle, you're looking for a right angle, which would be a perfect corner. Now, there's a really fancy maths word I'm going to teach you here, and you absolutely don't need to know this, but it's pretty cool, so I'm going to teach it to you anyway. The longest side on a right angle triangle here is called the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. That's a very posh maths word you can impress people with. You can say, oh, look, that triangle has a hypotenuse. That's not a hippo. No, no, no. Not a hippo. A hypotenuse. Very cool word for you to impress people with. Hypotenuse. No dancing hippos, please. Now, this triangle reminds me a little bit of a skate ramp. Now, remember, it might not be this way up, but when it is this way up with the right angle in the bottom left, it reminds me of a skate ramp. Now, similar to the isosceles triangle, it has one line of symmetry. So a right-angled triangle, don't really need to think of a fancy way to remember that name because it just has a right angle in it. So you're looking for a triangle with a perfect corner. No dancing hippos, remember. The hypotenuse. Right, let's go back and have a look at all four. So we have an equilateral triangle, 3 sides, 3 angles, equal, equilateral, everything is equal. We have an isosceles, icy mountain isosceles, 2 sides the same. We have a scalene, a skew with scalene, all the sides and angles are different. And we have a right angle triangle, which, surprise, surprise, has a right angle. Now, it is difficult remembering all these 4 names, so the best thing to do is try to remember most of them, and then you'll know that the one you can't remember is the other one. So, right angle triangle, pretty easy to remember, it has a right angle. Equilateral triangle, everything is equal. And then you need to think about, is it easier to remember a skew with scalene with everything different? Or can you remember an icy mountain isosceles with 2 sides the same? Because if you can remember 3 of them, you'll know that the remaining triangle is the other one. Now I'm going to test your knowledge of triangles now by looking at these pictures, and we'll see if you can match up which triangle, which little triangle character is which type of triangle. So we have here an isosceles triangle, 2 sides the same, an icy mountain, an equilateral triangle where everything is equal, a scalene triangle, a skew with scalene when there are no equal sides or angles, and a right angled triangle which has one of the angles as a right angle. Now I want you to have a look at these pictures and see if you can work out which is which. Now some of them have been rotated round, as I said would happen, but you can still look out for those key properties. Remember that an equilateral triangle will be equal all round, so that all the sides will be the same. Remember, a right angle triangle will have a right angle somewhere on one of its points. A scalene is going to be pretty skew with, and nothing will be the same. And your isosceles triangle may be tall and thin, or it may be wide, but we need to make sure that 2 of the sides look like they're the same. So it won't be wonky, it will be quite straight, but it won't be as perfectly formed as an equilateral triangle. So I'd like you to pause the video, and I would like you to work out which number of our triangle characters here on the left matches the names on the right. And then I will reveal the answers in a moment. So please pause it so you've got some more time. Take as long as you need, and then play the video and we'll see if you're right. Okay, so I'm going to reveal the answers now. So if you're not ready, make sure you've paused. So here we go. Number 2 was an isosceles triangle. You can see that 2 of the sides are the same length. Okay, it's more of a tall pointy mountain, this one, an icy isosceles mountain. 2 sides are the same. That's number 2. The equilateral triangle was number 1. Now it was upside down, which might have put you off. But if you look closely, all the sides are the same length, even though it's pointing downwards. So everything is equal for number 1. The skew with scalene is number 4. You might have been able to tell that from the crazy face that Mr. Scalene has got down there at number 4. You can tell that all of the sides are different and it's all a bit wonky. It's a skew with scalene. which means that number 3 is our right-angled triangle. Now this one has been rotated. As I said, it might look different, but you can see in the top right corner there is a right angle, like the corner of a book or the corner of a page. There is the right angle, which means it is a right-angled triangle. How did you do? I hope you managed to match them up. I'm going to test you one more time now on a different platform to see if you can still match up the correct triangles. See if you can spot our 4 different triangle names. Equilateral, everything is equal. Isosceles, icy isosceles mountain with 2 sides the same. The skew with scalene, everything is different. And our right angle, which has a right angle. Okay, have a look at this activity. This is from BBC Bite Size. Now we've got 4 other angle characters, triangle characters here. And we've got the names at the bottom. We've got isosceles, right-angled, equilateral, and scalene. So I wonder if you can work out which is which. Now, again, take time to pause the video, and then I will reveal the answers. Okay, so I'm going to go through the answers now. So if you need more time, please pause. So let's have a look at these characters. Some of them don't look very happy. Now, this one in the middle, tall and pointy, definitely reminds me of a tall, pointy mountain. And I can see here that there is definitely one side at the bottom that is quite short, but the 2 going up the sides look equal to me. So there are 2 sides the same, the icy isosceles mountain. Now I've got 3 more to sort. Now this one over here has got a right angle, and it's given the game away slightly because it's even drawn in the corner down here, the right angle, the proof that that's a right angle, the little square. And so that's definitely a right angled triangle because it has a right angle. Now let's have a look. This one is looking fairly perfect. It looks to me like everything is the same, but let's just compare it to this one. This one is definitely looking a little bit skew width. Now, if it's skew width, that means everything is different, the angles and the side lengths. So that must be the scalene, surely, because it's looking a little bit skew width. So this one, where everything is equal, is the equilateral triangle. The sides are the same, the angles are the same. Woohoo! How great! Well done. Just going to show you a game now which you can have a go at home. So this game is called Triangle Shoot. Now there are 3 different parts to this game, and 2 of them involve angles, and we will come back to this in our angle section. But we're going to have a look at the bottom section here, equilateral, isosceles and scalene triangles. They're the ones that we need to find. Now there is an extra level on the end of both of these with rotation, which makes it harder, which means that they're turned round. Okay, but I'm just going to play this level for now, and you can have a go at that harder level at home. So I'm going to go into the relaxed mode, partly so I can talk to you about it. It just gives you 10 questions. With the timed mode, you have a time and you have to try and do as many as you can. Okay. So what you have to do is you have a little shooter. I'm on a laptop. I'm not sure how it works on a tablet, so you'll have to give it a go. But on a computer, you're just going to click your mouse to shoot the triangles. Now it tells you the type of triangle you need to look for. So this says a scalene. So you're looking for the triangles which are skew width. Now I can see one floating down here. There we go. And now I'm looking for an isosceles triangle. So 2 sides the same. Looks a bit like a mountain, could be tall and pointy or wide. I'm going to go for this one. Now it's looking for equilateral. Everything is equal, remember, so it will look like a very perfect triangle. I'm going to catch this one. Another isosceles. Let's go for a wide mountain. Skew with scalene. This one's looking pretty skew with. Another equilateral, that one looks perfect. Another scalene, oh, there's one coming just underneath. And an isosceles. Isosceles, oh, look at this one, that's a very tall, pointy one. And an equilateral, and a scalene. And there we go, I did my 10 goes. So you have a go at that at home. I'll put the link underneath the video. Now the next video is about angles, so please do tune in to that one when we'll learn the different types of angles. Also some funny names that we need to learn. So just remember, equilateral triangle, everything is equal. Isosceles, two sides the same on the icy mountain. A skew with scalene, where everything is different. And a right angled triangle, which, surprise, surprise, has a right angle.